The hammer-tailed wyvern Duramboros may actually be one of the most dangerous herbivores in Monster Hunter, possibly so dangerous that even the likes of Devil Joe can't even take this thing down. Let's talk about it, right? So Duramboros is a brute wyvern, one of the few herbivore brute wyverns in the game before the likes of Bonboro. Duramboros actually is more of like a tree eater. It's a herbivore, but it eats mostly trees and dead wood, and possibly the insects that are in them as well. Kind of just go into its stomach here. We know this because it actually has this kind of stomach that pretty much is made in a capacity to digest and extrapolate all the nutrients from wood. But how does it really defend itself is because of that club tail. Now, the most creatures I do think relate to it are Glyptodons and Ankylosaurs. Now, these creatures had, these tails that were capable of bone-crushing damage. And I think if I had to pick the one that's probably more relatable to it, it's probably the Glyptodon due to its, not the Glyptodon, the Doedicarus, because of its more mammal-like nature and its ability to just simply, wreck anything it comes across, from saber-tooths to terror birds. And Duramboros kind of has this same thing and the same mentality, except that it's able to use its tail in many different ways, even to the point where it's able to fly up into the air with the momentum it has, pretty much just spinning around and even uppercutting its opponents with its tail. But back to what I said here, Duramboros' diet doesn't even include meat like some of the brute wyverns. It actually eats bark and stone. The stone is possibly able to just simply grind up any nutrients that are in the wood itself. But let's get into what we really came here for, and that's the reason why it's an unstoppable herbivore. This thing has a good list of predators from Legiacris, Nargacuja, Golbul, Plesioth, and Zinogre and Nargacuja. But let's talk about the reason why these predators really don't have much of a chance here, starting with the first two, the forest dwellers, Nargacuja and Zinogre. Starting off with Zinogre, Zinogre is actually well equipped to take down maybe even a juvenile male Duramboros. But the thing is, even juveniles are just about like kind of close to the size of adults and are still too much to even take down, despite its long claws and its sharp extra claws as well, plus the thunder ability. Zinogre's not going to be able to take down a Duramboros due to its sheer bulk, size, weight, and power. The same with Nargacuja. Nargacuja is not lightly built, but is definitely a creature that is made for taking down light prey. It's probably specializing in taking down more primate-like prey than actual, bulky creatures. Things like Duramboros are actually going to have pretty much a field day with this one because of that club tail. Nargacuja may have the speed, but Duramboros' hide might be just a little too strong for it. This is probably the reason why more of the herds consist of females and youngsters, with Nargacuja probably preying upon the youngsters or the infants rather than the adult males and females. Maybe even some teenage Duramboroses are safe from predation from these large monsters, simply because they'll be near the herd and they'll be too much to take down, or maybe even too much of an extent to even take down before the herd gets involved. It's also known that Duramboroses do travel in herds, making them much more capable, while the males are pretty much out on their own. Kind of like some elephant and some bull herds where you see males by themselves, but females kind of just stay in the herds with their young. So a little recap, Nargacuja is not lightly built, but it is definitely not built to take down this kind of animal. It's too strong, it's too tough, and that club tail is going to do some serious damage. It's actually known for both Nargacuja and Zinogre to fail when coming across these adult male Duramboroses. Even coming across a herd of Duramboroses, it's very likely they'll just go and get another prey item. But that's not all the predators Duramboros has to face here. Duramboros is actually found commonly in swamp-like areas as well, meaning they have to deal with an assortment of aquatic predators. By the way, I won't be covering Brachydios because it's not a predator for Duramboros to really encounter, in my opinion. As for aquatic predators, Global isn't in the same capacity as some of these other ones. It would only be able to eat infant Duramboroses, and even then, it's very possible it can't swallow them whole. Infant Duramboroses are still much bigger than a global, not accounting the spines even. They probably would be too much to swallow and probably would be too much to ambush before an adult comes around and simply squishes it. Global is just simply too small and is definitely a small prey specialist. Definitely an aquatic prey specialist as well. So in conclusion, I don't really see Global really being able to take it down a Duramboros at all. Plesioth is a very weird one. In deep water, I would have to say it has a very good chance to drag a Duramboros in. But then again, I would have to digress here because Duramboros weighs way more than any prey item he's dragged down. It's very possible that in shallow waters where Plesioth is able to get an ambush, Duramboros is still able to pull it out of the water and then smack it with that club tail. Also, the build as well, a well-placed tail slap or a well-placed bull rush is going to cripple a Plesioth, if not flat out kill it. So I would definitely have to say here that Plesioth does not have too much of a chance here against Duramboros. So this is around 4 to... Yeah, actually, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is around 4 predators that actually do not have a chance against Duramboros. It's simply too strong, it's too bulky, and its strength level simply eclipses it. So let's recap here, right? Plesioth does have a chance. Global is too small. Nargacuja is not built for it. And Zen Ogre is not really too much equipped to take down these Duramboroses. They're not equipped to take down the males or the females. It might not even be able to take down the juveniles. However, a predator that is equipped is Lagiacris. Lagiacris can not only take down something as big as an Angidat, but is actually much bigger than a Rathalos. Duramboros is bigger as well, and we actually see that for a lot of capacity. Duramboros is huge here. But a Lagiacris taking on and definitely taking out a Duramboros is definitely a rare commodity. I do have to say it's a rare commodity as well. Lagiacris has the tools, its size, its power, its jaws. But Duramboros' hide and, the areas needs to bite are simply not in that capacity unless a very successful ambush simply happens. Duramboros' horns could potentially get in the way of Lagiacris getting a fully good bite in, and then it could possibly be dealt with in a 1v1 scenario, whether it be male or against a female. So Lagiacris probably has the better chance. Lagiacris does have a better chance at taking out juvenile Duramboroses or teenage Duramboroses as well. But the reason why is there's a simple problem with the Duramboros species, and that's rust Duramboros. Much bigger and much stronger. Rust Duramboroses are actually stated to run off Tiger Rexes and Devil Joes. This is actually impressive here because in the desert, Glavenuses are known to be some of the most common predators around here. And why is Glavenus not on the list of predators? It's very possible Glavenus would just not pick a fight with a Duramboros at all. The thing about rusted Duramboros is there's actually a bunch more ecological lore when it comes to it, right? Rusted Duramboros not only trades up its club-like tail for an axe-like precision, meaning that it has some cutting power to it. But here's the thing. Rust Duramboros is confirmed to be covered in the blood of other predators. That's crazy, ain't it? Rust Duramboros is covered in the blood of its enemies. So this not only makes it probably attractive to female Rust Duramboroses, but possibly a deterrent to other predators. It's even known that Devil Joe would back off from this creature. And this means that its forest-dwelling, cousins, or its forest-dwelling species will not be, pretty much isn't messed with entirely. This means that Glavenus, Tiger Rex, Devil Joe, even a Diablos would give a Rust Duramboros way. You might say, oh, well, what if it heats up its bladed tail and goes for it? It's very possible that it won't cut it. Or it's very possible that Rust Duramboros is actually has the speed to block it with its own club tail. Otherwise, there would have been encounters between Glavenus and regular Duramboros in the forest. This means that Duramboros itself is really an unstoppable force here. And it's very possible, and this may even cement it as its Elder Dragon level. Simply put here, Devil Joe itself is known to, well, if we use, Monster Hunter World for an example, is known to stalemate and even being able to outdo the likes of some Elder Dragons like Valhazak and Velkhana, and Namiel, which are Elder Dragons. And this even goes for apex predators, such as Sand and Barioth, which will prey on anything. And again, this is very, very interesting, because this means that if a predator is attracted by the blood, they'll run at the sight of a Rust Duramboros. This means that Duramboros has no natural predators once it's fully grown. Devil Joe might even try it, but it's actually stated its jaws can't even inflict damage upon, a Duramboros. This means that Devil Joe's bite has no effect towards a Duramboros, when this thing can even bite and crunch Diablo's horns. Male Diablo's horns, which are some of the most aggressive creatures in Monster Hunter. And then you have to think about Tigrex. Tigrex's strength is abnormal for its size, but this means it can't even overpower either of these Duramboroses. And this is confirmation, not me speculating either. It cannot overpower these creatures, and it will actually flee when a Duramboros is, when a Rust Duramboros charges at it. And you have to think about it here. Tigrex are known to prey upon Gammoth. Even if they're young and maybe even some juveniles, they'll prey upon Gammoth. But yet a Rust Duramboros is a simple nope for them. So I have to say this Rust Duramboros may actually be Elder Dragon level. That's my speculation about it. And it's probably one of the most well-feared herbivores across the old world. Now in the new world, it's very possible it exists there as well. You can never limit a species by one area. I think Monster Hunter World definitely cements that as well, that these monsters can be anywhere they want to be. And with Monster Hunter Rise as well, with monsters like Almadron and, Kuluyaku, or even Midzutsune, you can't really limit them by, the areas you find them in. These monsters will just wander around every area. But what do I think about Duramboros as a whole, and what's my real speculation on this? This creature is definitely an Elder Dragon level creature. It's able to fight against Lagiacrus, and probably being one of the only few predators it'll lose to in a extreme diff scenario. It's very possible predators will back off, knowing that this prey item is a very difficult animal altogether. And its Rust variant is very possibly the most scariest thing both predator and hunter alike have to pretty much come across. So in conclusion, I do have to say Rust Duramboros, or Duramboros in general, is definitely an unstoppable herbivore when it's fully grown. Juveniles and infants are vulnerable, but the infants stay close to the herd, while juvenile-teenagers are probably too formidable for even the likes of a Nargacuja, a Zinogre, and a Lagiacrus. But that's going to be all for today. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends, and look in the description for the next Ecology video. Peace.